Okay, here we go. Thank you. So, what comes to mind for you when you think of the word coalition? So, if you scan this QR code, and for those of you online, we will put it in the chat. We'll put the link for that in the chat, and you can just indicate what comes to mind, just single word, when you think of coalition. Okay, so we can see we've got a word cloud forming. And for those of you online, I'm going to switch over to share the Menti so you can see that word cloud forming. All right, so we've got collaboration, team, group, support. Oh no, we lost it. Seem to show them both at the same time, no, huh? All right, team, group, support, movement, partner, goal, partnership, shared. All right, lots of good words come to mind. Thank you. Okay. It's displaying. Why isn't it? Oops. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so now you guys hit on some of the top words when we're talking about coalitions. So a coalition is a diverse group of individuals or organizations who work together to influence outcome on a specific issue or problem. Just by a show of hands, or if anyone wants to put in the shout, is anyone currently working with any kind of coalition, either professionally or person in your personal lives? So there are some out here that are doing some coalition work. Okay. Yeah, so what we wanted to do today was just share a little bit about our experience with Wisconsin literacy and how we've come over the last, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary this year. And we wanted to share with you kind of how we started, which will be a little bit later in our presentation. But also we just wanted to kind of start off defining coalition, like what are the advantages of it? And so one of the things are conserving resources. So for us in the state, a lot of our literacy agencies, by pulling together as a coalition, we've been able to maximize and build capacity in those areas. Increase impact by working with other organizations. Accomplish objectives beyond the scope of any single organization. And we're going to share some more statistics, but what we're able to do is through networking, if some agency in the northwestern part of the state is facing some kind of challenge, we can connect them with other agencies that do similar size, similar issues, and they can work on issues and challenges together. Greater credibility by collaborating with others. Provide a forum for sharing information and learning best practices in the field. Foster personal satisfaction among our coalition members. That's kind of a coalition, and that's how we started. So Wisconsin Literacy, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are a nonprofit coalition of 82 adult, family, and workplace literacy providers. We also have some library programs that are members. Often that will run through their Friends of the Library organization. Our vision is all people in Wisconsin have the literacy skills to reach their full potential, and our mission is changing lives by strengthening literacy statewide. And again, going back to that coalition, we're a diverse group of organizations are part of our coalition. We've got about 4 focus areas that we go into. We want to focus on our communities, supporting our member agencies and their communities. Government work, we do a lot of advocacy in the state for adult and family literacy efforts. Workforce, we want to connecting adult students with employment skills and workforce partners. In Wisconsin, that's our Department of Workforce Development, our W-2 Wisconsin Works programs, where we try and increase those partnerships so that we get referrals. If they get clients that come in that need literacy services, they're going to refer to local literacy agencies, and reverse if local literacy agencies are going to help make those warm referrals to those organizations in regards to workforce, our workforce partners. And then we also have health literacy, where we do work reducing barriers to understanding health information and services. And this may look like some workshops around our different communities, or working with organizations to look at some of the work that they're producing outward facing. And then I'm going to hand it over to Robin here.
So as we said, Wisconsin Literacy is a statewide coalition, and we are currently made up of 82 members across the state, which covers almost 80% of the state. The North region, and particularly the Northwest region, you can see is quite rural, and there are fewer agencies up there. Yeah, we're proud that the majority of our counties are covered in as far as our membership. I think every time I touch this clicker, it doesn't, there we go. Now, did I miss one? Okay. Online folks, you can still see our presentation, right? All right. So membership benefits. So as the regional literacy consultants, Shannon and I, as well as our counterparts, are able to help our local literacy organizations around the state by being a resource for them. We can recommend resources and provide them basic support. We can help them network with other organizations. Work. Sorry, this just doesn't want to cooperate. Yeah, okay. We provide tutor training. So that was one of the early things that we started doing as a collaboration, as we realized that all the different nonprofit literacy organizations around the state were doing their own tutor training. And in order to kind of streamline and build capacity for them, we developed some tutor training that they could roll out to their tutors and take some of the burden off of them by providing the training. We have different professional development opportunities. We do a couple conferences every year, which we're going to talk about that more in a bit, and just building collaboration in a variety of ways, funding to purchase lending resources. So we've been very fortunate to receive funding from a couple different state sources that we can then share that funding with our members and purchase items for them. Okay.
So another thing that we wanted to talk a little bit about on the membership benefits. So one of the things that we are able to do as a coalition at the work at a state level, at a state organization, when we're talking about professional development, what we do is we work with our in Wisconsin Literacy, try and identify those needs or what members have told us that they're interested in. Since July 1st, Wisconsin Literacy, we've put on 82 professional development sessions, and we've had over 1,200 people attend our professional development. And what we do is we provide these services for free. So agencies and their tutors and anyone involved are able to participate in the professional development. And that's one of the resources that we're able to give to help leverage information. And what we have here is a video of one of our agencies in Walworth County. She's telling us a little bit about the advantages of being a Wisconsin literacy member. So I am going to play this quick video. It's just a minute. And here we go.
I'm Lily Barrett, Executive Director of Walworth County Literacy Council. We're a small to medium-sized council that serves adults in a rural community. We have limited resources and funding and staffing. WCLC is grateful and reliant on the support of Wisconsin literacy. Marcia Connett, our regional consultant, regularly communicates with us, inquiring about our successes and needs. Training programs for tutors and staff are invaluable, as well as the regional and literacy council networking meetings. I particularly find these networking meetings informative. Sharing experiences and knowledge from industry peers is always beneficial. The relationship with our regional consultant allows me to gather information on any topic. Some questions I recently asked Marcia include whether other councils charge their students for instructional materials, connecting me with councils who offer workplace literacy, and which donor management system Wisconsin Literacy recommends. Whether through personal contact or via their website, we can obtain valuable resources quickly and with confidence, and know that the source is one of the most credible in the field of adult education.
So what we like to do is we're always in touch with the members of our organization and trying to find out what is it that they need and what is it that we can provide. And so as Robin mentioned, we have this curricula, data management we offer fundraising, we bring in experts in the area on that. We collaborate on volunteer recruitment and retention and help provide resources through templates, what are the best practices that are out there. One of the unique ways that we are formed is that we have regional literacy consultants throughout the state. There's 4 of us, and so we are able to get to know our regions, get to know our workforce development board partners, our workforce partners, our Wisconsin Works partners, or anybody who's receiving any type of assistance. We can help make those connections with our literacy agencies. And so we're unique in that way, in that we're able to be kind of tailor into the regions that we're in. And if there's any programs or if there's any communities that have unmet literacy needs, we're able to help. If there's a group of individuals that want to start a literacy agency, we're able to work with them and help them get some resources, connect them with other programs, and help assist them if they're wanting to start a literacy agency.
I'm Lily Barrett, Executive Director of Walworth County Literacy Council.
Sorry about that. And then I'm going to go right to Robin. No, I got one more slide here real quick. So membership requirements, it's pretty small. We ask that they're a Wisconsin nonprofit literacy provider, that they pay membership dues, but they are very, very small dues. $100 if you serve 1 to 24 students. And then we go up to $325 if there's more than 150. And then we just ask that members complete an annual member demographic survey. And that helps us see what they're doing in their agency throughout the state. And it helps us collect data so that when we are doing grant writing, if we are doing demographics and advocacy work, we have all that data that's in the state.
Okay, so we are 40 years old this year. So as you can see by our logo, our 40th anniversary logo, We started in 1985, and unfortunately, neither Shannon nor I were with the organization at its inception. But we did talk to two of the founders to learn a little bit more about how this organization began so that we could share some of that learning with you as well. So literacy councils began appearing throughout Wisconsin in the mid 1980s. And essentially, they were all volunteer run, just very grassroots efforts of volunteers teaching learners how the skills that they needed for literacy. So some of these key volunteers at these different organizations began finding one another and talking to each other to gain support and learn from one another how they were doing things. And eventually they became more formalized and they became incorporated in 1985. They started having annual statewide meetings, and they had a newsletter 3 times per year that they would communicate with one another. And they began working together as at the state level, not only running their own local programs, but also running this statewide coalition that became Wisconsin Literacy. So the first 18 years of this coalition were completely volunteer run. For many of them, it just got to be too much running their own organization and running this statewide coalition. So they applied for some funding. The first grant was from Verizon, and they were awarded a grant of $50,000, which allowed them to hire their first executive director. And they were very fortunate to hire a really fabulous, forward-thinking, creative and independent individual who was able to lead the organization. And one of her responsibilities was to do more fundraising and write for more grants and find other ways to be able to sustain that initial grant. So she approached the Department of Public Instruction in Wisconsin. In your state, it might be called the Department of Education, and talked to them about the funding that was available at that time only for the technical colleges or the community colleges. And eventually, after a lot of discussion, a lot of work, a lot of talking to the legislatures, and just a lot of collaboration with the other players in the field, they were finally able to get to the point where the state agency of Wisconsin Literacy was able to apply for some of the same funding that the technical colleges applied for. In Wisconsin, it's called the AEFL grant, Adult Education and Family Literacy Grant. It still wasn't easy, smooth sailing from there. However, they were always having to demonstrate how they were making a difference and how they were collaborating with the technical colleges, and really prove to the technical colleges as well that there was a whole group of community members who had lower level skills and were unable to participate in the workforce without having those basic literacy skills. And that's where the literacy councils really excelled, is being able to work with those lowest level individuals and bring them up to the level where they could then begin to work with the technical colleges. So Wisconsin Literacy was able to provide a pathway for those individuals to get into technical colleges and advance their future for their family and for their own well-being, as well as benefit the technical colleges, the community colleges, by bringing more students into their area. So Wisconsin Literacy began to grow even further with the access to that funding, and that's how they were able, Wisconsin Literacy was able to first hire regional literacy consultants like Shannon and I. And at that time, they were individuals who worked in the local literacy organization. So maybe the local literacy organization only could afford to hire somebody for maybe 8 or 10 hours a week. And then Wisconsin Literacy was also able to hire that individual, and maybe they could work another 10 or 15 hours a week serving the entire region. So it was a really great collaboration, because it allowed an individual who had the actual experience of working in a local literacy organization to now work at a regional level and assist the entire statewide coalition to provide the resources that the literacy organizations needed. So similar to now, Wisconsin Literacy retains some of the funding that we receive from the Department of Public Instruction, and we retain part of that for our own operating expenses, but we also share part of it with our members. So earlier when we were talking about the different member benefits, and one of them is buying supplies for our members, that is possible because of the DPI, Department of Public Instruction funding that we get. And then we also get some other funding. We currently, in 2016, we began receiving funds from the Department of Children and Families as well. So individuals who are eligible for TANF, T-A-N-F, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, are able to get assistance through the local literacy councils because of the funding that Wisconsin Literacy provides to them. And it allows those individuals to obtain their GED or advance in their, whatever their area of literacy needs are. So over the years, organizations, local literacy organizations realized that it didn't make any sense to not be a member of Wisconsin Literacy because of all the support and the financial assistance that Wisconsin Literacy was able to provide to them. It greatly was a much greater benefit than what they paid for their membership dues. So it was a really great benefit in a lot of ways. All right, so let's see.
So one of the things that we've been able to do over the years is to provide some training where consultants will go out to the different literacy agencies. And if there's, if there's something specific that they would like to have covered, like emerging readers or just whatever topic that they would like, we would put together some curriculum or pull some curriculum that they were using, and we would go out and do trainings. And what we found was that some of the programs, especially those that were limited on staffing or whether they're volunteer-led or paid staff, is that they were asking for tutor training. And so what we did was we took the pro literacy, if you're familiar with the pro literacy training, we took that and we took some of our expertise that we had, and we started to do some in-person or live Zoom trainings where we would go through kind of the beginnings of how to become a tutor. And then it's a 12-hour, oh, here we get up here. It's, we set it up so we have a track for English language learning tutoring, and then those for adult literacy. And so what we were doing is just covering the foundational topics and, how to become a tutor. And then what we would do is after that, then these tutors could go back to their programs and learn those specific things at that particular agency. Like maybe that agency used a particular curriculum, and they would go through like intake, and they would go through the specific things for their agencies. But we were able to provide them the service of getting those tutors trained, or getting that initial kind of training so that they could be set to go and kind of free them up for some time and allow some access. And so we do these trainings, 4 sessions over 4 weeks. We offer them 4 times a year. We recorded them, and so people can go, tutors at any time can go and look at these sessions. They're on our website, so if you want to go to our website, you're welcome to take a look at them. They're available for you to look and view. We are continually updating and changing. We These were 2-hour sessions, and we got feedback from our members that said, you know, it would be great if we could break those up. And so maybe if we just want to talk about vocabulary, we can go directly to the section that talks about vocabulary. And so now we're converting our sessions to meet that need. The other thing that we're adding is continuing tutor education. They said, we just want some bite-sized things on specific topics. And so we said, okay, we'll create that. And so they're about 20 to 30 minutes. They focus on one topic. And again, you can go out to our website. Right now we've got choosing images for your lessons. And in these topics, these one topic things, we've got handouts, we've got suggestions. So it's kind of it's all there for you. So you can be able to go, and an agency, if they have a tutor that comes in and says, gosh, you know, I'm really looking for something to do with my tutor. Do you have any suggestions? They can even go out and point to this, like correcting student errors. Maybe some agencies might use some of these resources to do continuing training with their tutors that they have in their program. So we're really proud of that members wanted this and we were able to produce it. Digital literacy, when the pandemic hit, within a week, when everything closed down at the pandemic, we thought, what are we going to do? A lot of our agencies are doing one-on-one, we're doing in-person classes. What do we do? And so we got right to work. We're pretty nimble. We put together weekly sessions. We call them our Thursday morning coffees, where we said, what is Zoom? How do you get to Zoom? And we were able to provide Zoom subscriptions for our programs. And that was very powerful. And we just kept doing that through the pandemic. Because we had the capacity, we would bring in members that said, who's doing Zoom and who's doing it well? And they would bring in those resources, and we would do sessions every week where, you know, what's going on? How can we help? And so that was really helpful. And then we were able to get a grant, and we brought in a digital literacy and tutor manager now. And so we're offering these digital lessons. You're welcome again to go to our website. We've got sessions that are recorded, and then we have live sessions every month on different topics as they come up, and they are as agencies are asking for them. We have a wonderful manager. She's incredible. I'll give a shout out to Jamie. So you're welcome to go out and attend that. But that's another one of the benefits as a coalition that we're able to do. Does anyone have any questions on that? Anyone in the chat? Yes. Okay. Yep. What platform do we use? We use, I just went blank. Articulate. Thank you. We use Articulate, and we're able to do that. Yeah. Great question.
Okay, so we have another member testimonial to share with you here, and a few quotes that you can see on the screen.
Networking is a must. It's a great use of your time. It helps to build community with other literacy councils, since we share many of the same problems. First and foremost, tutor recruitment. It has really significantly impacted us by providing us a lot of resources and tips, particularly in marketing our organization. It was suggested on one of the calls to use a variety of methods. So we use our local newspaper, Facebook, farmers market, resource fairs. We had done some of those, but now we do all of them. And I think by people seeing us in a variety of ways, they are more likely to approach us and actually want more information. That seems to be working. And our most recent win has been implementing the tutor cafes. And it's a great way for our tutors to network with each other, because they don't really see each other since most of the tutoring is virtual. And they've been able to share tips and successes, and has been really well received. And they also have met the board members. So we're very excited about it.
So Melody is an example of one of the very small agencies in a rural area, all completely volunteer run. Melody herself is volunteer and they don't have any staff. So they really find the services that they get from their membership very beneficial.
Networking is a must. It's a great use of your time.
Here we go. Okay, so we also do a wide variety of professional developments for our members, and this is also in most cases open to non-members as well. So any of you virtually or in person are welcome to join us. So we have fall and winter conferences virtually. There's no cost to our members, and we provide between 12 and 14 sessions in those virtual conferences. We are also going to be doing our first in-person conference. It's called Wisconsin Literacy Forward Conference, and that'll be August 18th and 19th of this year, and that will be in Milwaukee. So if you are in the area, we would love to have you join us there as well. You'll hear from a lot of high-quality speakers, as you are hearing from many of them here at COABE.
Busy that. Some of the other things that we do is that we can provide some online resources to our membership. We can kind of pool by the numbers and get better discounts. But so all of these services here that we have here, we also do News for You, North Star, the Change Agent, Intercombio. You can read that tape online, GED online. What we do is we're able to provide access to these resources, but we're also able to bring in experts to help us with the training of this. Like, how do you use this in your agency, and bring tutors in for it. So it's one of those things where we're able to get this in, maybe an agency may not be familiar with it. Maybe it might be something they're interested in. They can try it out, and then we can offer services. Like we were talking on professional development. One of the things that we are constantly doing is really asking for feedback from our members, because we really want to be putting information and resources into their hands. We kind of want to be that extra office, right? Where they can walk down the hall and say, gosh, I had this idea, or I've got this challenge or something, and we can try and find a way to meet that need. Collaborative learning, we do have we have an annual meeting every year, and as part of our bylaws, we have member agencies that are a part of the board. So to make sure that we're always hearing those voices, and then that we're really mission focused and we're meeting the needs of our agencies. We have program networking virtual meetings, and these have proven to be extremely helpful to our agencies. Melody was talking about, that was a small programs networking call, and we try and have networking calls for similar programs. So we've got the small volunteer led, we've got medium programs that maybe have staff up to 1 to 2 people. We have executive director networking calls, and these are for the state of Wisconsin. We have library networking calls, tribal networking calls, because we have some tribal nations that are members. We have libraries, we have corrections. A lot of our programs are doing work in their county jails. We also have, or in the institutions. So we put these networking calls, and we let the groups decide how often they want to meet. And then it's totally their time. What we do is, if they have topics they want us to research before we have the call, or it's just open. They can come with any challenges or successes, questions about about grant writing, you name it. They've come to these networking calls are chock full of information. Tutor coordinators networking call, that's another really big one. And that's one where small programs, big programs, they all come together, and they're all having kind of the same issues, right? Volunteer recruitment, retention. And so those are all things that we've been able to do with these networking calls. Annual regional meeting, we go over, that's where we elect officers. We kind of do a State of the Union address for Wisconsin literacy, where we want to go, that kind of thing. And then connection to programs and partners. And this is a lot of work of our, what we try to do as literacy consultants is to go out and, who's our workforce development board, let them know about, the literacy agencies, make those connections, keep that relationship with the technical colleges, the workforce partners, like I kind of mentioned earlier, and anyone who's going to have clients that are coming in that may need literacy services. We want to make sure that we're able to help meet the unmet needs in our communities. And so that's one of the things that we're able to do at Wisconsin Literacy through this collaboration, this coalition, to hear what's happening in the communities and how we can meet those.
So I want to share a little bit about my experience because I've been on both sides of it now. I've been with Wisconsin Literacy for over a year and a half now, which is not very long. I have a lot to learn, but it's prior to that, I was the director at a local literacy organization, Literacy Green Bay. I was the director there for 5 years, from 2018 to 2023. And prior to that, I was an ELL instructor there as a volunteer 1 day a week, while I had a completely different field as my profession. But I really loved the teaching, and I did that for 20 years. And then, as you can see, I became the director. And then when the regional literacy consultant opportunity became available at Wisconsin Literacy, I jumped on the opportunity to work at the statewide level. So it's been really great from my experience being the director of the local literacy council, because I had the regional literacy consultant that was available to help me out anytime I ran into any unique situation that I wasn't sure how to handle. If she didn't have the answer, she had all these connections to other literacy organizations that she could help me find somebody who maybe had a similar situation. And also through all the networking that our organization was able to provide, I began to learn about who some of the other literacy organizations around the state were, and I was able to contact them directly to do some networking with them. And then the professional development opportunity. These national conferences are great, but they're not exactly cheap either, are they? So the professional development that Wisconsin Literacy provided was a great way for me to be able to hear some of the great speakers and learn about some of the trends and the best practices that were happening in the field of literacy, to be able to provide the best services in my local literacy organization. And of course, the funding that Wisconsin Literacy was able to provide to my local organization was a huge benefit for our budget. All right. And so we've been talking a lot about who Wisconsin Literacy is and all the different things that we're able to do, but we don't want to just sit here and tell you about ourselves. Our real purpose here is to help you if starting a coalition is something you would be interested in doing. So Shannon's going to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I hope as we've been going through the presentation that you've been able to see, like as we're talking about these programs, they've all kind of developed out of this coalition of trying to meet those needs that our literacy agencies are seeing in their communities, and with the folks that they're working with the clients, students and learners. So we know that literacy is it's structured different throughout the states, and I don't know. I know we had Santa Fe, we had Louisiana. I don't know the other states that are in the room, but are any of your communities or your states, is there anything that's structured like Wisconsin Literacy, like a coalition? Do you have anything? And what state was that? Louisiana? Okay, hold on. We're gonna bring the mic so that our Zoom folks can hear. Whoops.
When I started working over 20 years ago, we had regional literacy coalitions, but they provided mostly support and then some training. So we do not have, that I know of, a place that does what y'all do, where you also provide staffing and financial support to help kind of underwrite those costs. So
Mhm.
we don't.
Does anyone else have anything in their state or their region or community that looks a little like what we're talking about with Wisconsin literacy?
In New Mexico, we sort of do. We're working on it. So we have a Propel New Mexico is like a professional learning provider for the whole state, and I'm the literacy coordinator. So I support the programs, and that's what I'm working on to really form this kind of a coalition. We already do meetings, and we do some professional development and starting like a community of practice. So working on some of these things. Yeah, similarly.
Okay, great, thanks. Anyone else want to share what's happening in their area? Okay. So yeah, so it sounds like there's some stuff going along similar. Every state does it different, I know, but this is what we have found in Wisconsin that has worked for us. We put together just kind of some steps when we're talking about what to do. So when we put in some research, so researching your partners, like identifying who's already out there in your community that you may not even know that's there, or in your neighboring literacy councils. So just kind of gathering that information, do your research, see what's out there. There's a lot of great resources to kind of find your how literacy is looking in your state. If you're familiar with PIAC, you can go out and pull up. Yeah, I see lots of head nods. You can go out and find out by counties and everything there. But find your partners that are already doing similar work. And when you find those partners, kind of gather those stakeholders together. See, like you said, like how can we meet? Do you guys want to, how to make those connections with your stakeholders? And then, get together, determine like, is there an opportunity for us to get together, have some common goals as coalition of agencies working together. And then you can come together, have those conversations, and then set those common goals. Like, what is that commonality that you find within all of the agencies or your partners or your areas or your county even and your region, however that looks for you, what's logical in your area to meet. And then create, like you were saying, create information sharing structure. Before, we had, before Wisconsin literacy agencies were loosely trying to get together, maybe once a month, sharing information. But, find out the best way that you can stay connected and share what it is that, kind of like our networking calls. What are you seeing? What are the needs? What are we wanting to share? What can we do? And then create that area. Maybe you've got some shared Google Docs. Maybe you want to create a website or Facebook group, or however, whatever information that you think is logical for the group of partners that are involved that can get together. Zoom is really great. If you have a monthly Zoom meeting that you set up, that you're going to just say, we're going to meet up. I know there was one state that we heard at the Pro Literacy Conference where they did it kind of like networking calls, but they would have monthly calls for directors, and they would just set up a Zoom call. That link stayed the same, and people would just sign in. So that's another opportunity, and see how it goes. Maybe you do it for a few months and you gain some momentum. And then then you could implement it and look and see, is there a logical way that you could come together and form an organization, a coalition, kind of like we did at Wisconsin Literacy. And how would that look? What would your membership requirements be? Are you going to have dues? And you could set it up like that. So the idea is really to start the coalition is, what's the common issue that you have, and then find those partners, and then find put everybody together. And technology makes it very easy to do that these days, a little bit easier. And then, how could we collaborate and really expand our efforts in the work that we do. So we are going to move into an exercise where we're just going to start. Robin's going to go through it.
So funding is a key to having a coalition at the kind of the breadth that Wisconsin literacy has. Of course, you need funding to make it possible. You need funding to pay for the regional literacy consultants and the other staff. And that, to be honest, that's probably one of the most tricky parts. Forming a coalition and finding other literacy organizations is probably the easier part, but then getting the funding to keep everything going definitely has its challenges. So federal and state funding, if you have any funding sources that come from through the state or the federal areas, then you know that it's very tricky and it's challenging and it's going to be different in every state. So I can't necessarily speak to how it's going to work in your state. And I know that our predecessors did a lot of work to try to work at the state level to find the funding and make it possible. And building relationships is really the key to getting the funding. So helping understand how the technical colleges or the community colleges work, where they get their funding from, and if there's a way that your coalition can have any piece of that pie. Department of Public Instruction or Education, the Workforce Development Board or Department of Labor, how all these different state departments intersect and how literacy fits into that is really the key. And as I mentioned before, literacy is the area that we fit in is helping that segment of the community who may otherwise not have access to some of the higher level self-sufficiency wages because they don't have the skills. So by helping them to increase their literacy abilities and be able to get their GED, to be able to get into an associate's degree program or even some certificate level programs, or maybe into the construction field or different trades, that they can be able to earn a better living wage for their family is really what it's all about. And so you really have to make your case for how your local literacy organization plays that role. It's a pathway to the workforce. And of course, one of the tricky areas is undocumented individuals, and there's really not an easy answer to that. But right now, there are employers who are very, they really need the workers. So the Department of Labor may have some strategies that can help those individuals to be able to work legally. And then being involved in the state politics and the state budget is essential as well. So our leaders at Wisconsin Literacy are very involved in the state politics. They are keeping constant contact with our legislators to advocate for adult literacy, to make sure that there's money in the budget for adult literacy, and just talking about who we are and what we do and how it helps to advance the entire community when people are more literate. Local literacy organizations, if you're with one of them, you can understand completely. You don't have the capacity to do advocating at a statewide level, but a statewide coalition can do that for you, and they need to be able to understand the state budget process and be able to insert themselves into it. So now we would like to invite you to work in some small groups and share some ideas on Easy Retro. So if you want to scan this QR code, and we'll also put it into the chat for our online participants. And once you are entered into Easy Retro, it works very similar to Padlet, if you've used Padlet, where you can enter your ideas on certain, we have 3 or 4 different columns that you can answer these questions. So the first one is, how could a local, or how could a literacy coalition address unmet literacy needs in your area? The second one, what role do you and other literacy partners play in existing literacy coalitions in your region? And what are some next steps that you could take or do to start to grow your literacy coalition? So please go ahead and meet people that you may not know already and talk about this and share your ideas in Easy Retro.
And for those of you that are on Zoom, if you would just like to take a look at those questions and then put any feedback that you may have into the chat, that would be great. And we'll give you some time here that we can go through this together. So we'll take about one more minute, 1 or 2 more minutes here to wrap up. And again, if you're out there in Zoom, go ahead and put anything in the chat that you're thinking of or anything you'd like to share. Here we can go to it here. Okay, I think we'll come over to this group here. And if you guys want to share your ideas for those that are on Zoom, kind of a little bit of ideas and conversation that you had about coalition building. Anyone want to take the mic?
Oh dear. Do you want us to go through each one? We have a variety of kinds of organizations. Are you from a local literacy? So we have a couple different kinds of organizations here. So like I'm trying to build what you guys do is a statewide coalition. And so my next steps, we can talk about that, is really to get that public facing website and then build a tutor network there. And I'd really like to do some of those micro learning for tutors that you have on there. I'm also really working on visiting programs to check in and see what their needs are. And I think that in-person check-in is really important. And then working on a tutor training. And from Louisiana, we're talking about building the local community partnerships up. So really just getting out in the community. And what are your next steps? And same for our colleague from Texas, Sarah. But we talked about a lot of different kinds of ideas. Anything else you want to share with folks online? Oh, really connecting. Oh, the big one is building that community awareness and how to connect more volunteers to programs. Anything else?
Okay, well, thank you. And Easy Retro will remain available to you. If you want to take one of the flyers that's at the table, and those of you who are online, if you want to capture that, you can always refer back to the Easy Retro to review some of the ideas that were entered. So thanks for everyone who entered into that. Great, thanks.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And we hope we're coming to the end. We just wanted to share our impact we have our impact reports that are out here, and I just wanted to share. So part of the reason that we ask our members to do an annual demographic survey is so that we can show the impact that all the literacy agencies are doing throughout the state, because they're doing fantastic work. And we want to make sure that we're highlighting that. So just real quick, statewide overview stats of Wisconsin literacy members that reported. We are serving about 82% of the counties. There were over 2,261 staff and tutors providing instruction through the literacy agencies. They served over 14,400 learners by those members in the coalition. And there are 2,955 on a waiting list. So we know there's a need. I know we were talking about volunteer recruitment. And that's one of the things that we can do. Our pictures here show these are collaborations of agencies coming together, sharing information. We have annual regional meetings where we bring all those agencies together to meet, and then we base our agenda on areas that they want to address. So again, we want to say, mark your calendar, August 18th and 19th in Milwaukee. If you'd like to come, it will be an affordable conference, but more information is coming soon. So just save the date for that. Yeah.
Just looking at the picture with it looked like they're at a park. I was wondering if you do events. I understand the meetings, like I'd really like to put on events for our literacy programs to get together and not have it be like a meeting. So this looks really nice. So I just wanted to follow up on that. Are there events that you bring people together at? Like, I don't know.
We did at a park, reserved a park campground to do.
Like in the middle of the state, or?
Oh, so when we do them regionally, we just kind of pick an area in our region where like for example, in the Northwest region, we'll just do a poll and say, where would you like to meet, and put out a couple dates. So it's not such a burden for everybody to drive to. Yep. And then like this year, I'll have it in the library, so we just kind of move it around a little bit, but that's a great question, where they're affordable and the cost is good. But yeah, so we'll meet anywhere as long as we get together and share ideas. Save the date, August 18th, 19th. More information, you can go visit our website. We'll have all that information on there. And again, we want to thank COABE for letting us come and speak, and want to thank you for being here and sharing these great ideas. And we hope that you've gained some information that will be helpful to take back to your organizations. Feel free to stay in touch, reach out to me or Robin. We do have a survey here on this QR code if you don't mind completing it. Your input is valuable to us. We always are doing those very quick. It's just a five or six questions. We want to make it simple, but we want to get feedback so that we can provide what it is that you need. So thank you again for coming. We've got a link to our 2024 impact report. Go to our website. You're going to find all the resources we talked about today. And if there's something you're looking for and we don't have the answer, we'll try and find it for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.